When you sit down to play a Call of Duty campaign, there are certain expectations. That was until Black Ops 6. Is this a quiet reboot of the campaign formula?
No clue.
I hope. Let's do it.
Programming us since before I hickory dickory. Vile, vulgar, and viciously feeding into you visit. They love warfare.
Let's get this out of the way. I liked Black Ops 6. For the first time in decades, a Call of Duty campaign surprised me. I was interested, I was invested, I was eager to see what else Treyarch had cooked up for me. Why? Put simply, it's different. It takes risks. If you've played any Call of Duty campaign, you've played them all. You know how it goes. A globetrotting adventure, somewhat on rails, solid mechanics, animation, and graphics, and a typically predictable narrative. This has been the recipe for decades now. Call of Duty campaigns don't really evolve or change much. They typically play it safe. But big picture, does it really even need to? It's not the driving force behind their live service. It's just nice to have, right? Well, yes and no. That adherence to the blueprint cuts both ways, and that's what this video is about. While it does ensure the winning formula is there for new players, after a few campaigns, that same winning formula, that consistency, can get stale and predictable and makes it easy for players to lose interest and mentally check out. In addition, it's a bit unfortunate that an industry leader plays it safe and doesn't really push the medium to new, previously unseen heights. If anyone can redefine what we should expect from a video game campaign, it would be a publisher or studio of this caliber and financial backing, right?
No clue.
And finally, just reading the tea leaves of the industry here, things are changing. AAA is struggling, indies are thriving, player wants are changing, and live services have likely seen their best days. Companies are looking for that next thing, and I think single player campaigns could come back in a big way. It could be the dawn of their revival. So while Call of Duty campaigns are just fine as is, they could be, perhaps should be, maybe even need to be so much more. Well, along comes Black Ops 6, and all of a sudden, that doesn't seem so far-fetched. Subtle signs are there. The campaigns are changing, and for the better.
You try so hard. Just don't matter anymore.
So what's different? What are these risks I speak of?
No clue.
First, let's talk narrative execution. It's not so much the actual story, rather the storytelling, the way it's delivered. I'm gonna blow your mind here. You're gonna think I'm crazy. BioShock. Arguably, probably the greatest single-player campaign ever made. Granted, a different type of game with an entirely different vibe, but what made it so magical was its narrative execution, its storytelling. And like BioShock, that's where Black Ops 6 really shines and differentiates itself from its predecessors. To be clear, I'm not saying Black Ops 6 is anywhere close, even in the realm of BioShock, but it certainly leveraged some of its tactics. In fact, in a way, it directly lifted its most critical plot points. Let me explain. I made a BioShock video a month or so back that dives deep, I mean really deep, into what makes for good storytelling in video games. Link below if you want to check it out. You see, good storytelling biochemically tricks people. It makes them less critical observers, more likely to be subverted. And I think that's what Black Ops 6 is going for here, setting up hints and clues as to what's really going on now so as to set up a massive rug pull a game or two down the line. A long con, so to speak. I mean, if you play it, it's pretty obvious to me that we're in the same exact situation as Jack from BioShock. Mind controlled, all that. Let me explain, but to get there, we need to go a little deeper. We need to move from narrative execution to the actual narrative, and there are 3 key plot points in game that illustrate their growth in this area. First, you play as Case, a new character to the franchise with a mysterious background. Scratch that. With no background. But throughout the game, subtle hints are provided as to the true nature of your character, and they all point towards something nefarious.
It's for you.
It's fantastic to see you again, Case One. How have you been feeling? A friendly reminder that most of the facility is off limits to patients. I hope you understand.
towards the thought you aren't who you think you are, that you are in fact surreptitiously serving the very organization you appear to be fighting against, that you have no real agency and your actions are not your own.
Look what you've done! I know what you really are, Case. The Cradle made you this.
Second, one of the key characters in Black Ops 6 is Jane, and throughout the campaign you learn about her brutal yet touching backstory. Unbeknownst to her, her parents were double agents, murdered in cold blood at a young age, and she witnessed it. And it appears the assailant may have been aware Jane was there at the time, yet let her live. Flash forward 20 years and it's suggested that same individual who murdered him is now currently working with you and Jane, that he's a part of your team and perhaps even aware of the connection between those murders decades ago.
Targets eliminated.
Anything else?
Negative. We're done here.
And finally, third, in the end, a teammate is talking to you over the radio, but because Case, you are a silent protagonist, no audible response is heard. So whether we lived or died is up to you for now.
Case, sit rep. Case, he responded. Livingston's cleared out the capital. Everyone's safe. It's over. We did it, Case. We did it.
No clue.
Now, do you see where all this is going in relation to good storytelling and narrative execution and sort of using some of the same plot points as BioShock?
No clue.
In both games, we know nothing of our backstory except it's mysterious. In both games, we think our actions serve the greater good, but that's slowly eroded as hints are given. In both games, we think we have agency, that our choices in-game are our own, only to discover there's a greater power manipulating us. In both games, there are people in your midst who aren't who they seem to be. It's this feeling in-game that slowly creeps on you. At first, it's just, that was odd, but that builds over time to, okay, something's definitely off here, and ultimately culminates in a no freaking way moment,
No clue.
Now, to be fair, there have been shades of this in past Call of Duty campaigns, but in my opinion, Black Ops 6 is the first I can remember to actually set it up properly. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems pretty obvious to me that Case in Black Ops 6 is like Jack from BioShock. If you played both, we all know where this is going.
The staff was absolutely thrilled with the results of last week's Cradle trial. You're exceeding all of our expectations. In fact, we think you're ready for the next step.
But all that being said, while they did make progress, I need to be honest and admit it still fell short in the narrative department. While it was much, much better, Treyarch never delivers the final blow. As the credits roll, you still don't know who you are, you still don't know who killed Jane's parents, and you don't even know if you're alive. So for me, there was this huge buildup of suspense, and then I can see why they did it. They want to keep you curious so you buy the next campaign, but big picture, this was a failure and broke one of the core tenets of good storytelling, providing a payoff. Like, imagine if Game of Thrones had just ended with Arya midair about to kill the White Walker. It was actually disappointing and a bit frustrating. Am I really going to wait a few years for another game to give me those answers? Will I even remember? Will I even care? I mean, probably, but you know what I mean. I think failing to deliver that knockout blow was a mistake, a missed opportunity, the chance to make people say, holy shit, that was an amazing Call of Duty campaign for the first time ever, Just my opinion. So let's talk gameplay. Mechanically, nothing's changed, and I'm inclined to say it shouldn't. For the world within which Call of Duty exists, one of realism, they've pretty much perfected the gunplay, movement, and itemization. It's arguably the biggest reason it's the biggest game, so if you played anything Call of Duty, campaign, zombies, Warzone, whatever, it'll feel identical here. The real changes, however, came in mission structure and flow of the game. I can sum it up like this. Every mission, and sometimes multiple times a mission, you feel like you're playing a totally different game, and not even like Infinite Warfare vs. Vanguard different, I'm talking entirely different games. You start in Kuwait, your basic typical Call of Duty mission, on rails, fixed objectives, guns blazing, and so on. But the very next mission, you're assigned with assassinating a priority target, and it's all about stealth. It feels and plays like Hitman. Next mission, Different again, you have to break into a gala, but it offers you several paths to do so, all using stealth and subterfuge. But halfway through, it flips, and what felt nothing like a Call of Duty game suddenly feels exactly like a Call of Duty game. Next mission, you guessed it, different again, it's open world, and not just kind of open world, legit open world, like the last Halo Infinite or Ghost Recon type game. Next mission, and probably my favorite, is straight up Bioshock. You're in a biowarfare compound, you get all kinds of messed up in the head. It's creepy, it's atmospheric, it begs questions. Next mission, a casino heist, part James Bond, part Ocean's 11. Penultimate mission is 100% Call of Duty. Almost feels like a bit of an homage to traditional gameplay. Like they got 90% of the way through making this game and realized they forgot to give us a heavy dose of combat. And the last mission, pretty much a horror game. And with each mission, you play a different character from the cast, often swapping multiple times per mission. And all these disparate type of missions and characters are tied together by the hub, serving as a sort of palate cleanser before the next course. The result is this continually fresh and engaging gameplay. You never once get that, how many more hours of just shooting stuff do I have left feeling. Like the story, there have been similar attempts at this sort of stuff in past campaigns, but Black Ops 6 went all in on it. Every single mission was different, and the result, in my opinion, is a winner. So, final thoughts. In a way, Black Ops 6 feels like a quiet reboot of the campaign formula. Yes, it is a continuation of the story. Yes, they carried some of the old characters forward, but they also gave us a new lead, several new side characters, a new bad guy. They left several major new storylines untied and introduced all this new mission variety. That's a lot of new, no?
No clue.
So, solid game. I am super annoyed at the lack of answers in the campaign though. Like really? You left us with 3 big cliffhangers. You couldn't even answer one,
No clue.
Get out of here. But big picture, Activision never walked away from money. And over the next year or two, we'll get Doom Dark Ages, Judas, Perfect Dark, Ill, Stalker 2, likely another Bioshock, maybe Half-Life 3, and a whole storm of single-player campaigns I'm not even mentioning. It could be the perfect storm to propel campaigns back into the limelight. And if Call of Duty plays their cards right, they could be mentioned in that same breath. And with that, I'm done. Appreciate you taking the time. Take care of one another, and I will see you soon.
No clue.